All right, here we go. We have Terrance Gangster Williams, the half-brother of Birdman, who just got out of prison after serving a lot of time. Welcome to VladTV.
Thanks for having me, man.
Well, you have a very interesting story. This is our first time actually sitting down. So to kind of give a little bit of the backstory, Birdman and you have the same father, right?
Right.
And from what I understand, Birdman's mother passed away when he was 5 years old.
Right. Correct.
And he went to Canada to live with his uncle for a little while and then ended up in foster care back in New Orleans. And at that point, your dad went and actually got him and his siblings and brought him into the family.
Right.
So when do you first remember Birdman actually coming in?
I was maybe like in elementary school somewhere. When he came in, I was like, man, what's going on? You know, who is this? You know, because as youngsters, you be territorial. And when some new people come around, now you like, well, where he gonna sleep at? Where, what's going on with this person? So yeah, I was like in elementary school somewhere.
Okay, and when Baby and his siblings came in, how many kids were in the family at that point?
Well, see, my father had like about 25 children, so from different people. So, but like Baby and I, we didn't always stay in the same household because my whole life, like from young, I was like in juvenile prison and to state prison. So I've always been in prison.
Okay. And I mean, from what I understand, Birdman and your brother, Eldrick Wise, started to become really close.
Right. Real close. Yeah.
And they started hustling together and started to get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. When you saw that happening, what did you think?
I wanted that. As a youngster, you see your siblings getting money, dressing fly, people respecting them, the girls calling all the time, and you be like, I want that. So, I was like, I want to get a part of this action. And I started at a young age too in the streets.
Okay, what age did you start at?
I would say I was 10 years old 9 years old when I first went to juvenile. Well, the police picked me up at 9 years old. I would say when I was 11 years old, that's when I started selling marijuana. And I was stealing cars, sleeping out in cars then.
Okay, and Baby was doing about the same thing because in 1987, when he was 18, him and your brother, Eldrick Wise, got arrested for drug possession and sentenced to 3 years.
Right.
Okay, when you saw your brother get arrested, well, both your brothers get arrested, what did you think?
I thought that was like, that was the thing back then because, in the hood, you getting killed or going to prison. So my thing was, okay, my time to step up. And, I had the little, back there, we go buy a weed for like $20 and sell a little $2 weeds. Like I thought I was doing something. Have $20, $30 worth of ones in my pocket like I was rich.
Okay, so you get busted for weed, but during that time, the real money was in heroin and was crack?
Crack,
hitting New Orleans at that time? And was
crack was big.
Hitting New Orleans at that time?
Yeah, crack. Yeah.
Okay, so at what age did you start dabbling in that?
Oh, I was at 13. At 13, 12, 13, one up in there. I got into the crack, selling crack. About 1992, I was first introduced to selling heroin. In 1992.
Okay, well, going from weed to crack is a much different game. Weed is relatively mellow. People aren't trying to kill you or rob you. But when you get into crack and then heroin, that's when you really get a lot more serious. That's when the junkies, will do anything for a hit. And then you're making a lot more money, so people are out to get you as well.
Correct. That's correct.
So what started to happen as you started to switch over to the new drugs?
Well, actually, I wasn't the first one. My best friend, Mosquito, he one of the original Hot Boys. He the first one that started the crack move because I was still selling weed, but we were on the same set. And one day I come around a corner and this guy was choking him. And I was like, what's going on? So the guy was trying to take the crack from him. And I had my little 22 on me at the time. That was my first time pulling out my gun and engaging in violent behind that crack you talking about.
Okay, what happened in that situation?
Well, the guy was choking my best friend, trying to take the crack from him. And I pulled out my little 22, shot it in the air, and that's what got both of them attention. And that freed up my best friend. So we just both ran off.
Okay, but in that same year, you actually got shot in the foot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was in 91 when I got shot in the foot. I had broke out of juvenile jail, and I was in a project, and this guy came and bought some 7 grams of cocaine. And he was with a woman, and I seen he had a gun in his hand, and me, young, try to rob him out of his gun because one of my buddies already had him robbed about the coke. We waited till he bought the drugs from one drug dealer, and one of the guys in my project robbed him for the drugs. And I was like, man, let's take his gun. And at this time, he just started shooting, and he shot me in the foot.
Okay, and that was the first time you got shot.
Right.
So what changed in you after you got shot the first time?
I knew that it was a real world. It was like, kill or be killed, shoot first, ask questions later.
Well, that same year, 1991, your brother Eldrick Wise got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first, person in your immediate family to get killed like that?
91. Yeah, that was the first person that was close to, yeah.
Okay. And from what I understand, that's still an unsolved murder.
Right.
So how did you feel that your older brother just got murdered and no one knows who it is?
Well, back then when I was young, I wanted to know, and back then you always would wait for the police or somebody to come and say, hey, we found this out, we found that out. But as I've gotten older and started being into the street life, I was like, I wanted to know myself so I can, get some get back. Avenge his death.
Did you ever find out who did it?
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Okay. So now you're really fully in the game. You've gotten shot once. And over the years, you've gotten shot, was it 6 times?
I got shot 94, twice. Like, I got hit twice in 94. One. And in 96, I was hit twice. Yeah.
Well, you're now fully in the drug game, but your brother is starting to launch Cash Money Records.
Right.
And in 1992, they put out their first project, Kilo G, The Sleepwalker. Now, were you at all involved in this label early on, or that's just your brother's thing?
That was their thing. Listen, I didn't see no money in that stuff back then. They was like, man, I'm telling you, come on, man, get out of here with that, Because, early when you first start a business, you don't see no profit or you don't see nothing. You're going to take a lot of losses before you get gain. And, the street money that's where the money at the time. So I'm like, man, get on with that. I don't want to hear nothing about that.
Okay, but your brother stuck with it.
Yeah. It was Slim that actually was the main one that stuck with it.
Okay, how close were you with Slim?
Back then or now?
Back then.
We were okay, like any other sibling, like, hey, how you doing? What's up? You all right? But Slim was more like the one to always get out the streets. And nobody want to hear that type of stuff. So, when you're young and you getting a little hood fame, I be ducking. I used to try to duck Slim back then because Slim always be one, go to school and, preach the good boy talk. And I was already hood, rich and famous.
Well, that next year, in 1993, Cash Money puts out UNLV, 6th and Barone. And that was a big project. I felt like that was like the next step up for Cash Money. Were you a little more interested by that time, or you were still in the streets and didn't care?
Still in the streets. Still in the streets, man. Yeah. I mean, like I would go to concerts or, listen to it, but man, the drug money was the way to go back then. It was fast money.
Well, that same year, 1993, you pled guilty to attempted murder?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that situation.
Back then it was we have wards, and it was this high school dance, Corn High School, and my project, the 3rd ward, the Magnolia Project, we would go to the dance, and then you had the 10th ward, the St. Thomas Project would go to the high school dance. And from there, youngsters, how it escalates to the dance, fighting, then after the dance is shooting. Well, I was in prison, I was in jail when the Magnolia and the St. Thomas got into this beef. But for some reason, when I come home, my name is on the front. And I was hanging around this club, standing up on the corner, just hanging out. And a guy come to me and said, hey man, the guy across the street looking at you, he said he about to shoot you. He told everybody to get out the way. And when I looked over to my right, he's kneeling down with his chrome revolver in his hand. And then I looked to my left, there's no cars, nobody, and I realized nobody's standing there with me. I was like, man. So this other guy out the Methamphetamine Project come to me, he had a tank top, a nylon tank top that you could see through. He was like, man, I got your back. He had a 45 in the lower of his back. And then he walks over and go across the street to the club. So I was like, well, how you got my back and you done walked off? At this time now, I don't have a gun on me because I don't know this guy that's talking about shooting me. So I walk across the street and I look in the club. It's a little small hole in the wall, one way in, one way out. So I was like, maybe I could go in here and hang out. But I was like, no, because if he a gangster like I think he is, he gonna come in here shooting. And back then they didn't have police around there. So one of my guys out the project, we had what you call a rock rental, crack car. Like you pay the junkies to use their car. And I had the guy to go get the car, and I jumped in the car, and the guy didn't shoot or nothing. He let me leave. So I raced home, go get got this 9mm Ruger, and I went back around the club. Now, as we get back around the club, I'm in the back seat, and I see him heading to his car. So I see these females coming too. So back then it was like a show-off thing too. Like you wanted people to see you do your murder or your shooting, what have you. So I was about to jump out, but then I got a little nervous because I was like, well, maybe if I jump out and shoot him now, the guy that's with him might have a gun and might shoot me. So I waited, and then he turned around and he walks across the street and started talking to this guy out the Methamphetamine Project. So I switched sides in the car. I got on the back driver's side and the passenger window. I mean, yeah, the back seat driver's side window. And as we pulled up to the corner, he's saying, oh man, I don't have beef with you. I have beef with Lil Gangsta. And when I heard my name come out of his mouth, I just stuck the gun out the window and hit him like 10 times. He ran and fell, and we pulled off. I don't know how the police knew that it was me or how my name come up, but I wound up getting arrested for it. And well, actually, I got to back up. They had made a mistake and released me from juvenile prison at this time. So while I was out, I had shot the guy, and when my probation officer called me to come visit him one day, he told me they made a mistake and released me, so I had to go back to do my juvenile time. And while I was doing my juvenile time, they came and arrested me for a homicide. So when they arrested me for the homicide, the homicide detective come back and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you for shooting the guy. I was like, how you know about that? So that's how I wound up. Well, actually, while we was in court, the guy came to court, and we had a little argument in court, and they rebooked us for public intimidation for threatening witness. And while we waiting for trial, he go and rob a bank, and he was caught with a mask and a gun. So now what the DA do, because at the time I got a co-defendant that's charged with attempt murder, then I have a co-defendant that is charged with a homicide. So by me not wanting to snitch on my co-defendant for the homicide, they offer my co-defendant for the attempt murder probation. And back then, when you in Orleans Parish, when you plead guilty, right away they're gonna give you a sentence or announce it that same day. So they told my co-defendant to get on the stand and tell him what happened. So I was like, oh man, he about to snitch on me. So he got up on the stand and he gave his name. He told the people he did everything. And like about 2-3 weeks later, they came and offered me probation. So I copped out to the probation because how juvenile go, because I still had juvenile life at the time and I still was considered a juvenile. And had I beat the charge, I would have had to go back to do my juvenile time. But by me pleading out and getting probation, I'm considered an adult now, so I don't have to go back to juvenile. So I went on to plead guilty to take the probation, so I didn't have to go back and do the juvenile time.
I mean, that's a hell of a deal to get probation for shooting someone 10 times.
Well, actually, he was hit 14 times. I just hit him 10.
Oh, there's 2 shooters.
Right. The first shooter, the one he pled guilty to.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, still a hell of a deal.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, you can say so. I mean, he hadn't went to jail for trying to rob a bank, so they should have dropped the charges.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Okay. So you get through that whole situation. And was your name Gangsta at that point?
Yeah, I was Lil Gangsta at that point.
Lil Gangsta. How'd you get that name?
My homie Stone, his name Killer Stone, he was with the D-Boys clique. And we was in juvenile jail. I was young and wild. And he used to be like, man, you Lil Gangsta. And I was like, I was like, oh, I like that. So I had made this little board, this let us paint and stuff. I was like, Mom, my new nickname, Lil Gangsta. I was happy he had gave him the name because he was well respected in the juvenile prison. And when he went home first in 93, and he was selling drugs in the project, and I had called home and I was like, man, he was like, man, just take the probation, come on home and hang out with me. So I went on and pled guilty and got out and started hanging out with him. And that's where the name come from, Lil Gangsta at first. About 94, I didn't start spreading my wings out, so I took the Lil off and it was like Gangsta, no more Lil Gangsta, So that's how that came about.
Well, the Hot Boys, the actual street crew.
Okay.
What year did that come together?
1994, we all started hanging together, but we knew each other from, like me and Mosquito, we kind of grew up together. Sterling and I, all right, let me back up. Remember I told you about the guy that I came around the corner and he was choking my friend to try to take his crack rock? And I shot in the air as well. That's the next day, one of his friends tried to rob my friend again. And my friend shot him in the leg. And Sterling came looking for me and Mosquito. So we had got word that this older guy, he wasn't that older than us, but he had a reputation at the time for robbing and shooting. He had a lot of people were scared of him. And he was looking for us. So one day we coming out the Magnolia Project riding our bikes, heading home, and Sterling coming up the street. And back then we had a little 22 pistols. So Sterling passed us and we stopped and he stopped. And we just was looking at each other. And he was like, who that is? We were like, well, who that is? And he was like, this Sterling was like, oh, this little gangster and this Mosquito. He was like, oh yeah, I heard y'all shot my boy. And was like, yeah, you tried to rob my boy. So we talked, but then we went our separate ways. And in 93, we met back up in jail, and we all actually wound up forming the Hot Boy clique in 1994.
Okay. And the Hot Boys was you, Dooney, Sterling, and Mosquito.
Well, it was more than that, but everybody started going to jail, started hanging out other places like Stone, the big homie Stone. He was still in the project, but he was more like laid back, get to work, put it out in the project, and he always was laid back. So you would always see me doing the Sterling Mosquito. So that's why it was the 4 of us. But Stone was still there. You had Disco, you had Hank, Derek, Chill Will. You had a few Blabber. You had a few good men that was still with us, but the four of us hung together every day.
Okay, and out of those four, you're the only person that's still alive.
Correct. Yeah.
How did the other three die?
Okay. The first one to die was Mosquito. He had went in the Callio Project. All right, one of their friends was killed, and they felt that it was Mosquito, Sterling, myself that had to do it. And Mosquito went back there thinking it was all good, and they shot him up like 20-something times. So I got a phone call, and I would talk to them on the payphone. So I was like, is he dead? They was like, man, I don't know. So they'll pass the phone. They kept passing the phone to each other. And I went back there to Cali. When I went back there, he was laying in the driveway on his back, hit up, and clearly he dead. So I was like, oh, they want to play these crackhead games. So from there, that's how the war kicked off between the Magnolia and the Callio Project. They had killed him. Then the second person to get killed was Sterling. Him and I were in we had went downtown. We had went to go on Canal Street to Foot Locker. And we had went to Iberville Project to holler at one of the guys he knew. And as we stand up talking, this guy walk up, start coming up the street, putting a handkerchief around his face. And this girl was like, y'all better run, that boy got a gun. So me and Sterling look at each other, and I just took off running, and he ran behind me the same way I went, and I heard the shots. I ran through the cut, came back around, and he had shot Sterling in the back of his head 7 times. And, you know, Dooney was killed in 2000. I was in prison, and he had a little turf war, whereas he was in the project, and he didn't want the young boys that was living in the project to sell in a certain courtyard. So the little young boy came out one day, shot, hit him in the side, and he died of internal bleeding.
So you were actually there when Sterling got killed.
Right.
How did that affect you? This is one of your best friends, and you basically just saw him die right in front of you.
Right. I mean, it was shocking because I thought we were untouchable. I mean, like I said, New Orleans have killers all over the city, but I just thought that the four of us was like, man, it was an awesome force, you know. And for Sterling, and he older than I am, and you know, to see my big bro laying on his ground. And at the time, he still was like, you know, gasping for air. And I was like, man, and he, you know, it was turn up season from there.
Okay. And how serious did that war between the Magnolia and Calliope projects really get?
You know what? That was so serious that a rumor had started, right? The rumor was, and the reason why I could speak on it is because he speak on it in the Fed magazine, Master P. It was a rumor that it started from $15,000 to $30,000 to $100,000 hit out on me. And P speak on this, like I said, in the Fed magazine, where he said we met up at a park, and he didn't know me, I didn't know him, and they had a rumor that I had killed his cousin. So the war, it was serious, man. It was so serious. My mother had been shot. My brother got shot up I had an Infinity truck. And I told my brother, I said, man, don't go around the Callio Project, man, because right now it's on, you know. And he hard head, went around there, they shot the truck up, hit my brother up a few times. He lived, but that war was real serious, man, you know. But one thing we didn't do what they're doing today, we didn't do drive-by shootings, hit innocent children, hit innocent people. You know, we kept it, it was like, with us, we didn't do long distance shooting. It was like, when I pull this trigger, I got to get my man, because if I shoot at this guy and miss him, I know I'm the target. You know, so there was like, but you know, there was like 30, 40 deep, and it was just only 3 of us, you know, going to war with them.
Okay, because Master P at one point was in the Bay. That's where he really got his musical career. I mean, I guess he's originally from New Orleans, but he moved back to New Orleans like in 95, I think.
Right. Somewhere up in there. Because that's when he shot that Bowdy movie in 1996.
Right. Exactly. And in 1994, you got shot twice.
Yeah. Right. Well, actually, I got stabbed in the left in my chest in the Superdome in the fair, June, and in July I got shot up. Yeah, I got shot in July of '94.
Okay, because there was this article that I found with you talking, and you said if you look at this picture of me where I'm eating ice cream, you'll see I have a mustache and my eyebrows are gone. That's because I had to dress like a woman to get to somebody.
Right. Man, listen.
What was that? What was that about?
Okay, when Sterling was killed, the project he was killed in, we thought it came from that project. So I was like, man, a lot of people know me. I got a disguise. But that had been going on in my city for years. There were older killers that had pulled this act before. So I got the wig, the dress, but I wore tennis shoes because I was like, I ain't wear no heels. I gotta run. And it was 4 of us, man. It was, these guys are deceased too. It was me, Stone, Disco, his brother Disco, and George Hankton. The 4 of us went back there in the Iberville project. So me and George, we split up. 2 of us go around the building, and the other 2, Stone and his brothers, went around through the dark cut. And I had the gun under my arm. I had the purse, I had the gun under my arm. So as I'm walking, one of the guys come from around the building. I pull my gun because it's easy access. I shot, and he jumped back behind the building. My gun jammed. The guy with me, George Hankton, he shoot his gun jam. So now we got to retreat. So I hear 2 more shots around the curve, around the building. Stone and his brother already in the car, they waiting on us. So we make it to the car, and that's when, man, like about 100 shots was let off at us. We almost got killed. We go in there project to kill him, and we almost got killed. So that didn't work out too fine.
Okay, and then in 1996, you got shot twice again?
Right, yeah. What happened was, it was a girl at my project, her name Gangsta, and she had a block party in Shakespeare Park for her son. So the rumor around the city was, hey, Gangsta got a block party in the park, in Shakespeare Park. So back then I used to come out every now and again, because when I come out, I was pulling something off, like I might come out throwing money out the window or doing something, so people always look forward for me to pull up or come around a certain event. So me and this guy with named Lou, we go around the park, to show support, and I parked my car up on the sidewalk, like by this Carter G. Woodson Middle School. And I hung out for a little while. So on my way back I got back in the car. I had a Q45, a green Q45 at this time. And I went to back up. And as I'm backing up, it's a car, because it's a stop sign. It's a car that pulled up. I let the car go. And then the second car that pulled up, it was a white car. It jammed me in. I was like, hey, yo, man, it's a hit. So I jump out the car. The guy jumped out his car. And the first shot, he missed me. The second shot, he hit me in my left shoulder. So as I took off running because my car was jammed up on the sidewalk. When I turned the corner, it's a bunch of children right there, because it's a block party. And I had a split second to think. I was like, maybe if I run through these children, he would stop shooting. I was like, no, because if I run through these children and one of these children get hit and get killed, they're going to blame me. And my hood loved me, and that's one thing you don't want the hood to turn against you. So I run out in the open and give him another shot at me, and he hit me under my right armpit, and it came out the middle of my chest. I don't know that I'm hit like this. I felt it, but I don't know where the bullet went at the time. So I'm running up the street, and one of my homies threw the door open. I jump in his car. We speed off, up for red. We turn on Washington Avenue. By the time we get on Washington and Magnolia, we get into a wreck. So one of my brothers opened the door, pulled me. I said, man, if the guys don't kill me, y'all gonna get me killed. They throw me in another car. We get to Charity Hospital. This when people started realizing that one of my brothers was my brother, because back then, when I put up on a set and one of my brothers out there, I never say like mama say this or man what's up, I always what's up dog, give him dap like he one of the fellas, because I know how people will try to retaliate on your family. So at this time, my brother said I had stopped breathing, So he took a while to call my mother. And when my mother showed up, he was like, Mama, I was scared to call because Terrance stopped breathing. So they was like, well, y'all got the same mother? You know, guys that we had grew up in the neighborhood with didn't know we had the same mother because, like I say, I've always been in prison. So guys I would never stay at their house, you know. But yeah, that was the time I had got shot in 96.
Well, there was this one time you got shot where you lost a piece of your bladder.
That's in 94. Oh man, that was a interesting moment. That day, early that day, me and Mosquito, we had beepers back then. So we had this thing, we would see who beeper could go off the most. And he had a pocket full of change. So my beeper went off like 5 times straight. He gave me quarters like 4 different times because I had to use the payphone. The 5th time, he was like, man, I have even money. So he didn't want to give me a quarter. So I was kind of upset about it. And then it was like, we had like 3 or 4 cars and we were trying to decide, did we want to go to Kenner, Louisiana, where some females lived. And I wanted to go out there and hang out, but then some of the fellas wanted to go back in the project. So at the time I didn't have a car, so I was outvoted. We wound up going back to the project. When we go back to the project, the ice cream truck pull up and one of my homegirls asked Mosquito for a quarter. He give it to her. I go off. I start cussing him out real bad. And I was like, man, you know, I asked you for a quarter. You didn't give me any quarter. He's like, man, I gave you. I was like, well, man, she not going to go to war with you. I'm the one got to go to war with you, so you should have gave me another quarter. And I was kneeling down at the time talking to him. So this pretty female with a nice butt, man, walk up and turn and face me in the street. And she was like, you. I was like, I looked behind me like, who you talking to me? She was like, yeah. I didn't know that there was the same female that I had saw at the club one night. And I was feeling myself this night, you know, feeling good and arrogant and cocky. So I go in the club, I see her, and I was like, I told her friend, I said, hey, tell her I want to F her tonight. And she was shocked because I didn't ask her her name, her phone. I was like, tell her I want to have sex tonight. But back then I used to cuss. So this same female came in my project because her daughter, godmother lived back there. So she reminded me that she was the one I had said I wanted to have sex with that night. So I wound up walking back with her because, well, actually no, she left. She told me where she was at. So at this time, I'm still upset about this quarter. So I walked back in a circle, and my homie Stone, Killer Stone, he in the courtyard. He had passed out weed to everybody in the courtyard and stuff. And I didn't smoke back then, so I went on home. I didn't want to hang out with nobody because I was really upset because my best friend wouldn't give me a quarter for call the girl back over my beeper. So I go home, and one of my brothers was like, hey, I just bought some new bullets because I had a Mac 11. I was like, okay, cool. So after I had like a 36 round clip, and now it's a Sunday, so it's this day is boring. So I was like, oh, the girl around the corner. I got sidetracked that fast. I left my gun on the bed, and I go around the corner. I was acting like I was going to the store because I didn't want to seem like I was thirsty, like I'm chasing a girl. So I walk around the corner and I see her. I was like, oh, what's up? We started talking. Me and this girl, man, we talked like from maybe like 4 in the afternoon, and she was ready to go home. So she was catching Louisiana bus, and the bus go all the way up Washington Avenue. So we started out on Washington and Willow. I said, let's walk down to Washington Magnolia. We walked down 2 more blocks. I look down the street, I don't see the bus. I say, let's walk down to Washington and Ferret. So now we like 1, 2, 3, we 4 blocks from my house, and my gun is in the house. But in my mind, I'm thinking I'm in my project. Nobody not gonna touch me. Nobody not gonna come back and disrespect me. This was the mind frame I had. So she was like, well, if we gonna go to Washington for it, we might as well go to LaSalle in Washington. That way, a bus come that way and a bus come this way. I could catch either or. I had to hung out with this girl. The bus took so long to come, man. It got dark. She finally get on the bus and leave. So now I'm heading back because I'm on the old side of the project. I live on the new side of the project. As I'm walking back, I see a guy in front of me, and he like, as he walking past this cut, he run like in the street. And I look at him, but I'm like, man, he tripping. So when I get to that same courtyard, there's nothing there. So I see my brother at the red light. I was trying to flag him down, but I I wasn't really pressed to talk to him. I was just, trying to speak to him. But the light turned green. He went on past the intersection. So as I'm walking, a guy across the street like, gangsta, gangsta. I look back, man, it's a guy charging me with a hat and a mask on. I mean, not a mask, he got a hat on and he got a big gun in his hand. He's a handgun and he's shooting. And I'm like, oh, and I try to run. I was still kind of sore because I had just got stabbed in the fair, so I had staples in my stomach. So I'm trying to run, this guy shooting, and he shot me in my right side first, and I ran across the street, and he shot the barroom window out, and he shot me in my left buttocks. It traveled from my left buttocks, top buttocks, shot a piece of my bladder, came out my right thigh. I fell. And as I'm on this ground, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, you got to get up, because back then they had this thing, when you fall on that ground, you got to empty the clip because they want the coffin closed. And I look up at this guy, he look up at me, I jump up, we look at each other. He took out running and I ran in the alley. So they got this guy at the door. I was like, hey man, I just got shot. Can you let me in this house? He was like, man, I ain't crazy. You come back here to kill me. And he was a crackhead. He ran and left me back there. So this older guy, he let me in his house, and Stone pull up, and they brought me to the hospital, and I wound up getting a colostomy bag out of that shooting.
Okay, so basically you have to go to the bathroom through this bag for, I think it was 23 months?
Yeah, man. Yep, a year and 11 months, 23 months, correct. Yeah.
I mean, as you're sitting there, you got staples in your chest, you got a colostomy bag, other shootings along the way. At some point, do you say, man, I need to just get out of here? Like,
No.
I need to move somewhere? No.
No, man. At some point, you got to say, okay, retaliation is a must. I got to start getting the people who shoot me or who doing this dirt to me, and I got a reputation to uphold. So, back then, it wasn't tuck your tail and run. It was like, man, you got to man up, because, you got people on the sideline, and, when you're young, that stuff play a part. People whispering and, oh, man, you're going to let them shoot you, get away with it, man. You got to go find, you got to go back. But the thing about, man, each time, you can't count the 1991 shooting, but the 94 and the 96 shooting, each time I got shot, nobody owned up to it. Nobody spoke about it. Nobody said, hey, such and such. So what I would do, everybody I had beef with, I would hit their block or they set, and it was like, I'm gonna get the right one. Because we enemies anyway, so it's time for me to come pay you a visit. But I never heard to this day who shot me, the 94 shooting or the 96 shooting, man. It just, it bothers me sometimes, because I was like, every time somebody gets shot, somebody gonna point a finger or say somebody did it. But they never, or whoever the shooter was, he was real smart to be like, I'm not gonna talk my business, because he knew with me still being alive, it wasn't gonna be safe for him in New Orleans.
Well, around that time, you had been arrested for murder 6 times, but all the cases were dropped?
Right.
Okay, so every time the police thought they got you, you ended up walking away.
Man, let me tell you something. In 1994, I was arrested for murder, for homicide. The story went that I tried to rob a guy out of his car, and I told him, hey, come show me how to turn the lights on, and shot him, right? In 1994, my homie Stone, Killer Stone, had a 94 Bravada, he had a 94 Rodeo, he had a 94 Suburban, rental cars. I mean, we were doing good, we were eating good, and he used to take care of me real good. So I felt it offensive for the, say I had tried to rob somebody out of a car. My mother, back then, when you go to jail for murder, you go to magistrate court to see if they're gonna give you a bond. First degree murder, you don't get a bond. Second degree murder, you get a bond. I had this play sister named Tanya. She came to court with my mother. So the homicide man, Tanya, very attractive girl. So he asked her, her name. They exchanged phone numbers. I called home. My mother told me what happened. So I had got upset at first. I was like, so she with the enemies, or she set me up? What's going on? Why she exchanging number with the law? I called her, so I thought about it. I was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Because I knew I was on a bogus charge at this time. So I said, hey, T, I said, I got something I want you to do. She said, what you want me to do, bro? I said, get a tape recorder, put it in your purse. I say, I have some questions I want you to ask this homicide detective. So the homicide detective called, I say, make sure you get him to state his name on the record. So she was like, what's your name? He was like, Detective Bailey. And she said, what's your first name? He's like, don't worry about that. So she said, you know my little brother didn't do that murder. Why you got him in jail, and what do you want from me? His exact words were, yeah, I know your little brother didn't do the murder, but he done so much stuff, I had to get him off the street. He said, his freedom lies in my hand, and I'm gonna let you know what I want from you later. They wound up dropping the murder. When I got out, I used that to my advantage. So I would later go to him, made a copy of it, and let him hear his voice on there. So I would let him, hey, if you don't want me to turn this in, it's certain drug dealers, I need you to pull them up, get them for me, and let me take their drugs and get the money. So, it worked out good for both of us.
So you were actually extorting a homicide detective.
Right, because he did it to me first.
Yeah, I feel you. Wow. Okay, did that tape ever get out?
No. Because because we had became real cool at the time, and he played fair, so everything worked out fine. It never got out.
Okay. Then by 95, Cash Money Records puts out the BGs, True Story. And at that time, the BGs was Lil Wayne and BG. Yeah. Do you remember when Wayne and BG started coming around?
Yes. BG, that's why he got his name, Baby Gangsta, from me. But
okay.
Lil Wayne, man, that little young boy was something special. I remember going in a studio, and Wayne had his little fro, because back then, he looked up to Slim. And he had a little camouflage vest on, and it was Wayne and Turk sitting over at one table, and it was Juvenile sitting over at the other table, and BG was like kind of roaming around. And I goes over to Lil Wayne, because he's the youngest one, and I say, let me hear you rap. And he just started rapping. I was like, man, like, where you get this from? How are you able to put this together and rap like this? And his exact words were, I don't know, I'm just talented, I'm just gifted. And I was like, yo, this little youngster is gonna be something special, man. And I remember Slim called me one day, and he was like, man, listen to this. He had sent me one of Wayne's songs. And because back then, BG was my favorite rapper. But I was like, yo, he gonna be the next to blow for Cash Money, man. Lil Wayne, this little young boy is serious. Because for to be so young, his wordplay was just it was just dangerous, man. I was like, man, this little boy is young, and he know all this gangster killer. And I understand, you living in the city, you're around all this stuff. He grew up in Hyde Grove, it's killers back there, hear all this. But to actually hear a youngster put this stuff on paper like he did, I was shocked, man. I was real shocked. But I still wasn't interested in settling down with Cash Money. No, I still wasn't.
Well, that next year, Cash Money puts out UNLV, Uptown for Life.
All right.
And that was, once again, the biggest project for Cash Money at the time. And that had Drag 'Em Down the River on it, which was
Mystical.
Was a Mystical diss.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I interviewed Mystical, as well as, who's the dude from UNLV?
Yafet.
Yeah, right.
Yafet, yeah.
Exactly. So we talked about this whole story and everything, and it almost got violent at certain times, but it was more or less kept on wax.
And I still had a little small beef with Cash Money. Like I remember I seen BG in the Piccadilly. I just came home from church. I was big too. That's when I was working out real hard. I just came home from church. It was me, my mom, probably baby mama, shit like that, little nephew. And I walked into the Piccadilly and I see BG at the table. Loaded as a motherfucker, dicked out, look. I said, I got his ass now. All that shit you talking, got his ass now. So he seen me coming and he kind of sat up. He stood up then, he said, Mystical. I said, I got your ass. That motherfucker, he unarmed me. He said, nigga, that unpredictable go hard. I couldn't even do nothing. I was like, fuck. All I could say was, nigga, that Chopper City go hard too. And it was over with. He totally changed my mindset, man, for real, with a fucking compliment. Flattery will get you everywhere, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. And to that day, what's up, BG? Come on home, baby. We miss you, my nigga. We miss you, man.
Now, you yourself were somehow involved in that situation.
Correct. Back then, you had Cash Money Records, you had Big Boy Records, and they had a nice team over there at Big Boy Records. So this guy had put up on one of them Misdemeanor from Partners in Crime. And I was like, yo, let that go. Me and him talk, back then, because I've always been small. So my approach always been the humble approach. Well, I would give a person a chance to give them enough rope to hang themselves, put it that way. So every time I approached someone, I was never aggressive. I was always respectful. But I had to talk with them, let them know, because they were very talented record label themselves, and they had some heat coming from their label. So, I put up like, listen, man, because they was from Gerttown and Pigeon Town, and they had killers with them too. So it'd be times where BG liked to roam by himself. Wayne always was baby to make sure he was good, but Juvie roamed by himself, Turk, Young Wild, and it's the homies, it's the family. So I had to let them know, like, listen, man, y'all got this thing going on. Make sure you keep it in the studio, because they got family that's coming behind them head first, So if something happened to one of them, even if they're getting a car wreck, I'm gonna think it's coming from that way, So we was able to, keep it respectful, and they kept it in the studio.
Okay. And that same year, Master P drops Ice Cream Man. And that was like his first hit.
Right.
How was the effect with Master P? Because you guys were beefing at that point, right?
No, not at that point. Because back then, my project and the Calio project, we were together. We was like trade beef. We would click tight together, and that's when Master P got ready to do that Bout It movie in '96, and I was supposed to be in that movie. But right before I was able to get in that movie, that's when I fell out with the Calio project, so I wasn't able to be in a part of that Bout It movie, that first movie he shot. But P at the time, no, we wasn't beefing then. It's another thing too. I'm happy you said that, because I noticed Baby, Birdman, and P, they both been tap dancing around the question that people ask, why No Limit and Cash Money artists never hooked up to do a song. That wasn't going to happen because of me and T-Dub about the Calio project. Because when we was at war, you got Cash Money over here with me, Blabber, and the Shooters over here, and you had No Limit over there with T-Dub, Wango, KK, guys over there. So how you gonna do a song together, and then you got to go perform this song? So now you got guys that's actually beefing, street beef that is on site when we see each other. That was never going to happen. So, I like how they tap dance around it, but you got two enemies on both sides. This was never going to happen.
Well, your dad died that same year, 1996.
Right.
How close were you with your dad? I mean, because here you are getting shot, going in and out of prison, and so forth.
I didn't have a big relationship with my father. I mean, like I said, I was always the loner. Like, I'd be in jail so much. I come home, I respect everybody, hey, how you doing? But it was never like, let's go hang out or go sit down and eat. Never, because I always ran the streets. I always lived with other people. So, I never had a big relationship with my father.
Okay, well, that next year, 1997, Cash Money, their buzz keeps getting bigger. Juvenile drops Soldier Rag, which I felt like that's when the quality level kind of stepped up. You know what I'm saying? That's when I felt like Cash Money had his first superstar.
No, man, you wrong. No,
nah, you don't agree with that?
No, okay, sir. Juvie did his thing, but BG told the Cash Money. BG was that dude. Now, Juvie outsold him, correct. Juvie was more of a versatile rapper, I would say that. But, man, Doogie, man, Lil Doogie, no. I got to go with Lil Doogie. I got to go with Doogie.
Fair enough. And BG dropped It's All On You 1 and 2 that same year.
But you missing, he dropped the Chopper City and the Chopper City first.
Ah, okay.
That was because he had that song that hit. The hit was man, I should get under the guys out the Calio skin with this song, Uptown Thing. He had that verse with here's the deal, gotta keep it real, gotta holler at gangster, hot boy, hard to kill. And when he would get ready to say that part, I would come out on the stage and I knew my enemies were in the audience, and I know they wanted to kill me bad, man. Oh man, I love that song. When BG play that song, Baby would actually he would look for me because he knew I'm about to come out of nowhere. He would try to block me from getting on that stage. And it wasn't going to happen, man. I had to have my moment, man. Man, yo, but like I say, Juvie, and that's me and Juvie grew up together too. But BG told Cash Money for a while, man. It was BG.
Okay, I mean, you know better than I do. I'm just talking from the outside.
Right, yeah, that's cool.
Right, and a lot of the world got introduced to Cash Money later on, after the Universal deal. So this is sort of like the
underground.
New Orleans Cash Money underground, right. Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, you know better than I do. But that same year, the Hot Boys rap group actually came out with Get It How You Live. So explain to me how the Hot Boys went from the name of your street crew to the name of a rap group.
Okay, we were before the group came together. We were on a bus. Baby, back then we used to get these little raggedy buses. Bus break down on us before we get to the show and everything, man. So one time the bus broke down on us downtown, and we got off the bus. Baby called somebody to get the bus fixed or whatever. So we were talking, and he was like, "Man, I got this little group I'm trying to put together, and I need a name." So I was like, brainstorm, right? I was like, huh? So like 30 minutes had passed and we coming up with different names. I was like, how many of them it is? He was like, man, it's 4. I'm gonna put Wayne, Turk, Juvenile, and BG together. So I was like, 4 of them. I said, man, name them the Hot Boys. He was like, Hot Boys. He looked at me, right? And he was like, okay, but what's gonna be the concept behind it? I say, they look good, they dress nice, jury game, they got cars, girls looking for them, enemies looking for them, the police looking for them, they Hot Boys. Because it came about, and you know what, I gotta give some credit to Rashid out the Magnolia, him and Mercedes. Well, his name Mr. Marcello now. Because a lot of girls were crazy and knew that a lot of girls were crazy about them back then. And when we would pull up in the hood, in the courtyard, guys would always be like, oh man, they hot, and they'll walk off. And somebody tell you, man, they hot, that mean either the police ride around looking for you, or either the enemy's looking for you, there's a hit out on you, or some girls might come through looking for you. It's just somebody might, if a person walk off from you, if you just hanging in the courtyard or on the porch or on the block or the neighborhood or stand on the corner, and that one particular or 2-3 particular people walk up and the person just walk off, something not right with them people right there. So it's like somebody trying to kill him or, you don't want to be around. So when we would pull up, a lot of people would walk off and move out, be like, man, they hot, man. So one of my homies, Fu, had told me one day, he said, man, them girls be calling y'all the Hot Boys. They call y'all hot. So I was like, yeah. So me doing the stuff, the mosquito were in the house talking, and we were trying to come up with a little street name for ourselves. We were like, man, what about the Bad Boys? Like, nah, they got a group in New York, record label called that. So I was like, man, because my homie had just told me about the Hot Boys that day. And I was like, well, we going to be calling ourselves the Hot Boys. And when I went to jail, I wound up getting I didn't know the value of this handkerchief I had. It was a white handkerchief with black and gold on it. So it was this Latino in the jail doing tattoos. So I was like, hey man, I want you to do a hot chili pepper on my arm. I said, how much are you gonna charge? He was like, give me that handkerchief right there. I was like, is this? Yeah. I would later find out that that's a Latin king. That's their color, the black and gold. So I got the hot chili pepper. Then he put it on backwards. So when he put it on my arm and I look, I said, no, don't worry about it. Leave it like that. I said, because this gonna show that this was the first chili pepper. It's on backwards. I'm gonna take this and run with it. And when I got out jail in 96, like I said, back to me and Baby, we ride on the bus. And when I gave them that name, they all went, some of them got the chili pepper, some of them got the name tattoo, Hot Boy on them. And man, out of all the dirt and wrong I've done in my life, it made me feel good. One day right before I got out of prison, it was this little young boy, he's 25 years old, from Atlanta. And we was getting ready to go to Chow to eat. And I look on the back of his neck and I see Hot Boy tattooed on the back of his neck. And I was like, wow, I made an impact on the world, But Birdman, I need to get paid for that Hot Boys, man.
Well, when you talk about being on that raggedy bus when Cash Money were doing concerts, you said that while the Cash Money crew were entertaining people, I was hooking up heroin deals, and I had 2 guns and a bulletproof vest.
That's how, you know what? And that's how the rumor got started about when I invested in Cash Money. What happened was we would let the connect know, like I would find out from Baby what city we going to, what state we gonna ride in. And I would let my people know so they would meet us. And we was at this little raggedy motel one day. It wasn't that raggedy, but I understood, well now I understand, I look back on it, we had Lil Wayne, Turk, Juvie, BG, we all in these rooms, and sometimes we would share rooms. So Baby would, the motel, you could look out the window and see in the parking lot and stuff. So he saw these 3 little foreigners coming to the room. And, he come out, bust off in the room. We got the money on the bed. We got the heroin out. So he like, oh, Slim, no, I'm letting Slim know, he scream on us. So I like, give him 10 grand and keep his mouth closed. And from there, that's how it started with me and him with the money. And so I would leave like 100 grand on the bus, give him the bag of money, hold for me. Maybe 2-3 weeks later, man, what money I gave you? Oh man, I spent that, man. I did this and this and that. Like, all right, man, you owe me now, man. So that's when it started. Like, okay, I invested in Cash Money, and that's how that rumor had started.
Okay, so you never invested $100,000 in Cash Money?
No, it's just that I would give him money for my drugs. So like when we go out of town, I used to use their bus. Because like I said, I was never really interested in the music. Like when my phone was tapped, he would call me. Like, hey man, come on, let's go on tour. Let's go with MCA or RCA, whatever that stuff is. And I was like, man, I'm getting this heroin money, and I would hang up on it, man. One time I say, man, and all this is in court records. I got it in my transcripts, where he would literally try to get me to come out the project or stop selling drugs to go on tour with them. But I was making heroin money, I was getting more money than the tour at the time, because they were local. So I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing that, and hang up the phone. But I would leave drug money because, like I say, if I used their bus and we was getting so much money to it, I would leave that money with them and he'll hold this just and keep it pushing, And when I come back, sometimes it's not there. So now I'm like, I'm seeing the potential with Cash Money doing something. Like, all right, now, I didn't invest in Cash Money. Boy, I own some of this here. And back then, I got you, that's cool. It wasn't no contracts back then. It was word of mouth, so later on, I wound up getting screwed.
Well, by that time, how big was your drug operation? I mean, were you really trying to focus on building a big drug operation, or were you out there basically shooting and enforcing and so forth?
Both, because like I say, the heroin money, man, is like you can make $40,000, $50,000 a day selling heroin. So me talking about a record label, talking about going on a regular bus and driving in 4 or 5 hours, man, I don't have time for that. I'm in the project, young, Q45, jewelry, pocket full of money, girls. I got my own concert. So I didn't see nothing in that. I wasn't with that.
Well, during that time, like, how big of a load were you getting at your height? Like, were you getting kilos and kilos and kilos, or was it just take a brick, flip it, get another brick, flip it?
At the most, I got like 5 kilos of heroin.
Okay, so it never got to the point of 50 or 100 bricks or anything else like that.
No, man, no, never. Let me say this. It never got to that point, but it was getting to that point because the people who I was dealing with was from New York. And they had warehouses of the stuff, but I had met these people through one of my co-defendants. And I had needed some heroin one time, and I was like, man, what them people that you got that drug from? He was like, they're in New York. I said, man, I'm on my way out there. Tell them I'm coming. And I didn't get no invite or nothing. I just showed up at them people's doorstep. I'm talking about literally went to New York without being invited. Me and my co-defendant, Blabber, we flew out, John F. Kennedy Airport, never forget, went to the Howard Johnson Hotel. We got in a cab, went to Brooklyn, and met them in the back of a restaurant. It was 3 of them. And I never in my life drank, I never smoked, so they was trying to get us to test the product. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So my co-defendant, he tested, hit it, and me and the 3 Latinos, we standing off to the side. We in the back now. We in the back of this restaurant. I don't have a stick pin on me, and I'm arguing with these people about their price. I'm like, man, I'm tripping. I'm in New York. Nobody know I'm out here. I don't have no weapon on me. I'm in the back of a restaurant. The place is closed down, and I'm arguing with these people about how much I'm going to pay for their drugs, you know? And my guy I had bought with me, he was nodding out over there, so the man was like, see, I told you it's good. So what he did was he separated us. We went back in the front. He put me on one side of the restaurant. He put my guy on the other side, and he was like, me like you. You good people. You stay focused. So I was like, yeah. He said, me, like him. And when he said that, something triggered in me. I was like, because this is my brother you talking about. Yeah, I understand that when a person get high, you don't trust them because they'll try to rob you or kill you, whatever. But this is a guy that's in the mud with me, that's getting it, that's grinding. So I got offended immediately. So immediately I started plotting. Oh, I'm gonna rob these people, and they loved me because I would flip fast. My phone was tapped at the time, so the feds got it. That's how we got busted. But they had got kind of greedy because they were sitting down some heroin, and I was like, well, I don't want to send y'all my money because I was planning on jacking them at this time, and my phone was tapped. I didn't know, so I had told my co-defendant, Brad, I was like, hey, man, we're going to use your house. We're going to kill them. It's like, man, we're not killing them people, man. I got neighbors. I said, man, we're going to tie them up and do them later. So that's why I was charged with solicitation to commit murder. But those people had big plans for me, man. They wanted me to take over New Orleans with the heroin. But my mindset, I was like, I'm not a worker. I'm going to get my money. Because, when you get drugs on consignment, those people expect you to settle it within a period of time. And I'm a type of guy, sometimes I might not want to sell drugs. I might want to get my car, go ride around certain neighborhoods, go do something. So that wasn't going to happen. I had other plans, and then the feds had other plans.
Right, because on March 6th, 1998, you were arrested by the FBI for a wiretap where you were dealing heroin and allegedly plotting the murders of these New York guys, right?
Correct.
Did you have any idea that your phone was tapped?
No, man, because I always heard the rumor that you can't tap a prime code phone. So I had I had this other phone, this Nokia phone. I would stay away from that phone and would use my prime code phone because I thought the prime code was safe, So, but it took the feds like 3 months to finally get the authorization to tap my phone.
Okay. When the feds picked you up, and at that point, was that the first time you were dealing with the feds? Because you were mostly dealing with New Orleans PD at that point, right?
Correct. Yeah, that was my first federal, right.
Okay. And the feds have a whole lot more resources than local police departments.
Yeah, man. Yes. Federalists come at you, man. It's like 99% chance it's over for you. Now, I done seen some guys beat them. A pinky finger full of guys beat them, but man, when I went to the Fed and they go off hearsay, like guys that get busted, they go and debrief. My lawyer, baby, and paid my lawyer. I'll never forget this. My lawyer come see me, man. My lawyer told me they gonna offer you 3 years to tell on cash money. I was like, what? I don't know nothing on cash. They say that's your gold card to get out of prison. They want me to snitch on Birdman. Bring up what those people have a list of stuff, and you just come in, see what they have, and you agree to this, and this. They go get the indictment, and he go to jail. That's just how the Fed work.
Wow. Okay. How much money did Birdman put up for your lawyer?
$20,000.
Okay. It was a good amount, but not a huge.
Yeah, because when I got in, once I got arrested, it was this OG named Glenn Mess had reached out to me. He have a life sentence in the Fed now, and he had wrote me a letter, And he was explaining to me about this. I was charged with a continuing criminal enterprise, CCE. And I was like, at the time, the youngest one to be charged with that. And I was like, you have to have 5 or more workers. First of all, I didn't have 5 workers. Everybody that was on my charge was selling their own drugs. But I guess by my phone being tapped, I was a target. So, and it was a good bit of us continuing criminal enterprise. And to this day, since I started studying that, man, them people played me, man. But, I was young. I ain't know no better. And I knew it carried 20 years. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm in my early 20s. I could take this 20 and, come home in my late 30s, early 40s. Then this other guy started telling me about how you could get a 5K1 and get your time reduced. So I was like, okay, I know Detective Bailey. I could reach out to the state, go over there, and they write a letter to the feds, and the feds would reduce my 20 years. So I got 2 of my co-defendants. It was like, okay, cool. I go over there. Man, the detective asked me the question you had, like when I first got in the game, right? This man got cold cases. This man got like 100 bodies. He want me to confess to it, help out to close the case because, when they close those homicides, it helps them too. It makes them look good because they close the case. But in my mind, I'm like, man, no, I'm not doing that because some of these people that's been killed, they got family that's killers. They got people, that I know there'd be a retaliation behind this stuff. And I didn't do that. Now, I understand you want to further your career. And I was trying to help myself too. But I was like, nah, man, we picked certain ones, wrote the letter to the Fed. Then my co-defendant with the brag about homicides. And the Fed was like, listen, man, you gave up this bull crap. Oh, and I also gave him some murders with Sterling and Dooney. So some of my people that I'm at odds with now, even BG was upset about it too. Cause they was like, man, you telling on the dead. I didn't look at it like at the time. I was like, well, this is a way I can get up out of prison. I'm not testifying on no one. I'm gonna give them this here. They're gonna cut my time. Cool, but I understand, I respect it that telling is telling because, we made those rules, you never go sit down and talk to those people regardless. I made the rules and broke the rules. That's why when I first came home, I was met with resentment or anger from Birdman when I first come home because of that. I didn't get the red carpet.
Okay, and we'll get to that part in the story. But you get arrested in '98, and you pled guilty to engaging in a continuous criminal enterprise and solicitation for murder, right?
Right.
Why would you plead guilty to such massive charges like that, as opposed to saying, well, if I go to court, it might be the same amount of time? Because those are some fairly big pleads right there.
I pled guilty to get the prosecutors and the feds off my people. They kept asking me wild stories about Cash Money Records, a Birdman, do this, what's up? He a gangster, he from the streets, so when your name ringing in the streets, the people can't catch you, they can't get you for nothing, so they'll try to find a weak link. And they thought, okay, he young, he the youngest one, he might know something, we'll put this on him because that charge carry 20 to life. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm young, and it was crazy, man. I got locked up March 6th, March 30th, Universal gave him the big deal. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can lay down, I'm gonna be taken care of. I don't have life. Let's run it, I plead out. But if I don't went to trial, I would have beat them because you have to have 5 or more workers. And in my PSI, they break down each individual role they play. And I was like, it's not a CCE, but it would become years later once I studied the CCE, the 848, that, they wasn't right, but, they got this one thing, how they say ignorance is no excuse of the law. And I don't think that's fair because they would use that against us because they know we drug dealers, we street guys. We don't go to the law library to study law, So you come up with that excuse to hit us over the head, and then later on when you go to prison, you go to read and you're like, man, I've been played. And that's my situation.
Oh, but you had your $20,000 lawyer though.
Yeah, but he was with man. When a lawyer told me one day, well, when I go have dinner tonight with the prosecutor, I'll let her know that you say you wasn't the boss of this case. When he told me that, I was like, man, them people, they sleep together. You know, they eat together. They live in the same neighborhood. You know, they buddies. So I knew that was over with. I was like, you know what? The best thing to do is go ahead and let me plead out where I could still have daylight, where I could be home again one day.
Well, after you pled out, your sentencing was life in prison plus 20 years.
See, that came about, but like I say, because they asked me about some homicides with my co-defendant. My co-defendant was bragging about some homicides, and a guy wore a wire on a guy named Robert Moody wore a wire on my co-defendant. They took that, okay, when the beef I had with Calio Project, I had a gun, I named it Calio. This was my favorite gun. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to kill as many people I can with this Calio gun. So one of my homeboys was in a car one day, it was task force day, and police came in the project, he ran through the gun. I called Birdman, well, my other co-defendant, he got caught with an SKS in the project, and he was like, hey man, they about to put a warrant out for your arrest. I say, for what? He said, because they say you ran through the gun. I said, man, that wasn't me, I ain't running through no gun. I got my gun on me, you know? The gun I called Calio was on me. So the feds, by the feds having my phone tapped, they called NOPD and said, hey, don't arrest him because we hear him fussing right now saying that wasn't him. But I was prepared because I knew NOPD wanted me bad. So I had called Birdman. I was like, hey man, I'm about to turn myself in, go ahead on and pay my bond right quick. So he was like, you know, what's up? I was like, man, the homie ran through a gun. He said the gun was dirty. I said, I don't know. It was Calio. He was like, oh. So the feds took that little story, what me and Birdman talked. They took the wiretap from the guy in prison and enhancement, the judge say, well, by the preponderance of the evidence, I hold you accountable for these murders. He said, now I don't think you will get found guilty in the state, but I'm gonna give you life sentence today. And he gave me life twice.
Okay, and you're 24 years old at the time.
23.
23. How does a 23-year-old really deal with life in prison at that point when you hear the judge say that?
I had asked my lawyer. I said, I got life. He was like, he was ordering to the judge talking, right? I said, hey, I got life. I said, hey, man, yeah. So he thought, because he heard all these stories, Gangsta, that I'm gonna get ignorant in court, flip the table, get the cussing. No, I was never that type of guy. So I got the life sentence. I didn't feel bad. I wasn't down because I had a strong support system. My mother, baby Slim, baby mothers, few females. So I was good, in my mind I was like, okay, I'm young, I hadn't been in juvenile jail, been in state prison, so I know how to do time in prison, where the feds is a lot different, but it didn't hit me that I had a life sentence to Hurricane Katrina, to 2005. That's when it was like, I was like, whoa, I'm never going home.
Well, you end up getting sentenced to life, and not too long afterwards, Cash Money signs a $30 million deal with Universal. And, Birdman really never gets off that train. He just takes that original deal and just start dropping hit after hit after hit after hit. How did it feel, you almost made it on that ride? Like you were right there. If you didn't get that life sentence, you could have been on that ride along with your two brothers and Lil Wayne and Juvenile and everyone else that really became superstars overnight. They were already stars in New Orleans, but suddenly they became international superstars because they had Universal Records behind them.
I could have been a rapper too, right?
Maybe.
Nah. But listen, man, honestly, when I was doing that time in prison, every time I watched 106 in Park, or every time I heard the radio and heard Wayne, BG, Juvie, Turk, somebody, even the big timers, I felt good, and I had something to look forward to because they took care of me. Man, listen, my whole 23 years, I did 23 years and 10 months. 6 months, Birdman cut me off. But my whole bid, they took care of me. I never wanted for nothing. I didn't know how it feel to do bad. I was able to take care of my children from prison, help my children in college. 2 of my daughters graduated from 2 different colleges. So they took care of me, man. I didn't have a word, sent me pictures. I would call Birdman every time I get my minutes. He counted my minutes for me. He would let me talk to certain celebrities. So my time, man, went by with ease.
Well, why did Birdman cut you off for those 6 months?
I had when I was in USP McQuarrie, I had went to the whole investigation for drugs, and I understand it now. Well, a few years I come to grips with it. You know, he looked at it like, okay, Slim and I, we sending you money all the time. Why are you in jail selling drugs? So what made me upset was, first of all, you don't know if I was selling drugs. You don't know, because how the Fed go. When you move into a cell, you have to search this cell thoroughly, because they're going to have knives in here, drugs in here, cell phone. And once you move in this cell, and if they do a shakedown 2-3 days later, anything they find there is yours. You know, and that was one of those situations. They found some drugs around me. So I'm in a whole other investigation. My mother tell him, he was like, well, if he in a whole investigation for drugs, I can't deal with him no more. And I respect it, because he looking at it like, man, the feds already was on us, got you, and you still in jail messing with drugs. I'm sending you money, so it might look like I'm the one funding this stuff for you, you know? So he backed up off me. We had got back together for his talking and got back cool when Slim had that open heart surgery. So I called, reached out, and I was talking to Slim, checking on him, and he was like, you know, you talked to Baby? I was like, no. I mean, I didn't have his new number at the time. He changed his number. So Slim gave me the number, and I was like, you know, my pride, you know, so I had learned, you know, sometimes you got to put it to the side. So I went on and called him, and I explained, I said, listen, bro, I understand, you know, you was upset, whatever situation, but you should have asked first, was I selling the drug? Was I set up? Did I have it on me? You didn't stick around and find out the whole situation. You just bailed out on me. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Well, we back together now. What's up? So, man, send me some money. So, you know, we Westy gave him some money, and we was back together, you know, it was back love, you know.
I mean, you had been through the state and you had been through county jails and everything else like that. Once you got to the Fed, what really was different? And you're also a lifer at that point in the Feds. You know, what do you think was better or worse once you got in that system?
The difference between the Feds and the state, you have guys that'll say, oh, this is my homeboy, and you like, I don't know, you was like, Louisiana, they call it what you call cars. You got Louisiana, you got Texas, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, you know, they will all come together, so we all got to be one big family, bunch of homeboys, because you might have like 300, 400, 500 Mexicans on the compound, and if something pop off, you got to be prepared, you know. And the difference is in the penitentiary, as soon as they pop those doors up, you got to be up in the morning, have your boots on. Well, now in the penitentiary, they don't let you wear boots anymore. You have to wear tennis shoes because people didn't got stomped and beat so much. But you got to be up early, all day, because if something jump off, you got to be prepared to go to war. You know, the good is you have a bunch of people watching your back, 24/7. You know, it's like a big family. You got anywhere from, in the range, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, 200, 300 people in one car. You know, you all sit together in the chow hall. You got your tables where just your people sit at. You got what we call real estate, whereas you got cells that these cells might be for GDs or Bloods or Crips. When you come off the bus, you can't find a cell, you might have to go to the hole, to the shoe, until your homeboys can find you a cell, you know. The bad thing is, I'm from New Orleans. So if one of my homeboys from New Orleans, get some drugs from somebody, and he don't pay that bill, or if a fight pop off on the rec yard, I'm in a unit, hanging out, just chilling or whatever, I might get attacked, and I don't know what's going on. Or we had situations like this here. Homeboys mess around with homosexuals. The fights jump off. All we know is Louisiana fighting, Midwest or whatever. Knives come out, stabbings, people getting killed, people getting losing their limbs, whatever. We go to the shoe. Hey, what happened? What's going on, man? What that was about? Oh, it was about such and such and such and such and homosexual. What? Now I'm about to lose my good time. I'm about to get shipped. You know, the homie lost his eye, or the homie was killed, he lost a lung or whatever behind a homosexual. You know, so you had those things. You had that situation in prison, you know. Once you get on count or you say, hey, I'm with you all, you held accountable now. You know, so, and it be guys, like I say, from other states, you don't know these people, but you got to watch their back, they got to watch your back.
I mean, did you see rapes in prison?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a few. It was this little young boy, and it was these 5 guys from DC, they're youngsters, like anywhere from, they ran from 19 to 21 years old. And it was this little young boy from the Midwest to hang out with them because they're young and wild. And his homeboys always warn him, hey man, stop hanging out with them. And he wouldn't listen. And one day they got him in cell, beat him up, jumped on him, and took his butt. Yeah, I've seen a few rapes in prison. It's not as bad as people paint the picture, but you had those situations where guys will get you drunk, you get in that cell and get drunk. I had one homeboy in the penitentiary where it was a white homosexual, but this homosexual didn't want to deal with him. So he knocked the homosexual out and took his butt. But he came to us and told us, hey man, this is what I did. So now we got to get our knives and get on point because what happens is you have ABs in the prison system. What they do is they will go to the white car and say, hey, you got a white neutral car, that guys that's not with the gang. But they will let them know, listen, if we get into a race war, y'all better assist us or we're going to kill you all. So what happens is he knocked this white guy, this homosexual out, even though the guy was a homosexual already, but you had no right doing that. So now it may be retaliation behind it, but so happened nothing was done behind it, you know, because it was some white guys that was cool with some of the guys with us, give them a few heroin bags and, you know, everything was swept under the table.
I mean, here you are doing life in the feds, and everyone knows that Birdman is your brother, and he's the owner of Cash Money Records. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's putting money on your books. Was there any level of, okay, we're going to try to extort you or anything of that sort because we know who your brother is and he's got the money?
No, I thank God that never happened, Vlad. Honestly, because like my homie Richard Payne said, somebody tried to do that to him, but he was like, I was a gangster on the streets. I was sitting here taking his doing on the street. I'm not about to come to prison and let somebody punk me. But now I would say this too now, because I'm not the baddest or the biggest guy in prison. However, I had a lot of tough homeboys, gangsters that I was surrounded by. And then I'm Muslim, so in the prison system, you might have 200-300 Muslims on a compound. So as long as a brother praying and on the deen, the Muslim gonna protect you. So I was always protected. I was always good. And then it would be prisons where if I wasn't protected, I always kept a knife on me. And once you stab one person, it's gonna travel throughout the federal system. They're gonna know, oh, yo, he get down. You know, he not no sucker. He not no chump. You can't just play that with him. You know. And I just was blessed not to have that situation. And I'm thankful I didn't, because honestly, if somebody would have came to me with that, I would have killed them. And I would have been stuck with that life sentence. You know, and I'm like I said, I thank God that I never was put in that situation.
Well, originally you got life plus 20 years.
All right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
In 2002, correct me if I'm wrong, a judge resentenced you to life, but with the 20 years running concurrent?
Correct.
Okay, so what changed to, kind of warrant that?
Okay, they had charged me and my co-defendant Blabber with relevant conduct. So the FBI got on the stand and said he don't know why the murders occurred. He just know they just happened. So now the Fifth Circuit was like, well, if these people were killed, okay, cool. However, these people wasn't killed behind their heroin conspiracy, so it's not relevant conduct. So the judge had called me back the way they resentenced my co-defendant first. The guy who wore the wire on my co-defendant had 40 years. He went back to court in 2000. The judge took 80 months off his sentence. So now in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, my co-defendant went on tape talking about these homicides. The judge has reduced his sentence from 480 months to 400 months. When I go back to court, he's going to give me 25 years because I don't have a bad record. You know, I only been to the state I've only been convicted for a gun and the attempt murder I was telling you about earlier. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, my guidelines don't call for a lot of time. So, but when I go back, they still got this politic going on because for some reason, they still want me to snitch on Cash Money for something. They want something on Birdman. They want him bad because, you know, once you get that money and he with the, you know, the bird call and he just out of control with it. So it's like, man, we got to bring him down. You know, we got some stories that we heard from back in the days when he was living that gangster life. We need you to confirm this. So when I go back, my lawyer, well, it was a prosecutor that I knew from the state. She was a DA, so she become a prosecutor. So she in the courtroom. I'm like, what's she doing in here? So my lawyer said, you know her? I said, yeah, I know her. I know her very well. Well, what's up? She was like, well, she working on a case and she believe you could help her with. I said, no, man, I'm not doing that. So she was prosecuting this guy named Johnny Davis, Tidwell Fat. And she wanted me to confirm some murders on his case. I was like, no, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about his case. I'm not dealing with that. So my lawyer said, well, I talked to your prosecutor. Your prosecutor said he agreed you should get 30 years, you know, because the Fifth Circuit overturned my case. Man, in the midst of us having a sentencing little trial phase, prosecutor out of nowhere said, Yana, how can we let a man like this back out on the street when he don't want to apologize to the court? He don't want to tell the court what happened with these homicides. How can we let him back out with the mind frame that he have? I looked at my lawyer and said, I thought you said the man said he agreed I could get 30 years. So the judge re-sentenced me again to life and 240 months, but he ran in concurrent in 2002. But what he did was he took the relevant conduct word off and hit me with 1B1.3, just saying you just was a violent person and enhanced me that way.
Okay, and then in 2008, another legal situation happened. So, based on my research, it said that documents revealed from 2008 retrial that Terrance Williams signed an official declaration to give up information in 2 murders, awarding him a sentence reduction. And there was also a quote, allegedly from you, I have very valuable, irrefutable information concerning 2 homicides and 1 attempt murder. In documents following that there was an affidavit in support of sentence reduction that was filed on April 25th in 2008. So Terrance Williams confirms that Freeman time that he was bargaining for was in exchange for information that he provided. So explain, I mean, number one, are those accurate statements or no?
Let me say this. First of all, I take full responsibility for that. However, I didn't write that letter to the court. This is what happened. I had a paid attorney, but I learned with paid attorneys, they be stuck in their ways. So in prisons, for some reason, you find some of the best jailhouse lawyers. So I had this older Mexican guy, and every time someone read my transcripts, read my story, they only charge me with 6 ounces of heroin. And they like, you don't have a bad record, you got a life sentence. So he knew from reading my paperwork, because like they had other trials with girls testifying, saying I was a hitman for cash money and all this stuff. So he got all this paperwork. I was in the law library this day. I got him looking over my stuff, but I got my attorney fighting my case. He put the affidavit together. Like I was playing chess with this guy. I was so locked into the chess game, and he bought the paperwork over here, signed this. I signed, and mailed it out to the courts. I had put a 2255 motion in, but that was also mailed into that Alpha Day, all that stuff you're talking about. When I found out, because one of the detectives wanted to come to the jail to visit me, and I was like, no, he can't come visit me. He had talked with my case manager. So he left the number. I called him, and then, you know, the paperwork came out on my docket sheet about it. So I was like, I talked with the jailhouse law. I was upset. I had talked to my homeboys because before you do any kind of violent act in prison, you go to your homeboys and you let them know what you're about to do, because it's going to be retaliation behind it, because he was an older Mexican guy. And I had told my homies I was going to stab him, because now this is on docket. Now, you know, it's going to be some consequent repercussion on my end with my people behind this, you know? So some of my homies didn't want me to do it, because it was like, man, you know, in certain prisons, when you got certain cars that will run a prison, and at this prison, Yazoo, my homies had they had GDs, they had it too on lock, but some of my homies had it on lock. And a lot of guys, when they feeding their family, they don't want to go to war. They don't want to get in no fight, because you're going to get transferred. So one of the guys went and told the staff that I was going to stab this guy, the jailhouse lawyer behind the act that happened. And I was put in segregation. I got the paperwork for that, and transferred from that prison. But like I say, I take full responsibility for it, because it's on my record. But I want to put this on the record. I've never testified on nobody. Nobody's in prison doing time behind me. I gave up murder for people that were dead, that I knew that did murders. It didn't work out because they wanted me to tell on people that was alive. So you see, when they filed the motion to the courts, they say, hey, he gave up this, but however, he didn't tell us this. So that's why I didn't get the sentence reduction.
Right, because in 2010, 2 years later, I guess an arrest was made to a cold case homicide.
Right.
And according to the docs, the murder was one of the two that was detailed by you.
Okay.
There was a report that same year said a dozen years after 17-year-old Colin Keynes was gunned down in Central City, New Orleans, police have arrested and booked a suspect with first-degree murder. On October 8, 1997, police responded to a call of a shooting at 2nd and LaSalle Streets and found Keynes' body inside of a vehicle with a gunshot wound to his head. Keynes died in the hospital. The murder went unsolved until NOPD Detective Decinda Barnes reinvestigated the case and said NOPD spokeswoman Officer Halal Williams identified 37-year-old Alton Patterson as a suspect last week. The police booked Patterson on one count of attempted first-degree murder and one count of first-degree murder. But I guess nothing really happened with that.
Yeah, because they wanted that murder solved so bad. I had nothing to do with that murder. She put the paperwork together. They put the statements, all this together, say, sign this. So I was like, I said, well, I was charging the Fed for that murder. I was like, okay, since he's in the state charge for it, it would help me, because now it's like, okay, the state is taking care of their own business. Fed, y'all can lift this life sentence off me. But when she came to me saying, well, I need you to testify, go to grand jury, I said, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I say, no, man, that's my people. I say, no, I'm not going to grand jury. I'm not going to go testify or even lie or go with this statement that's right here. And that's why they refused the charges on him, because I honestly didn't know what happened with that murder. I didn't have nothing to do with that murder. But I knew that had I said yes, or I agree, yes, I'm going to go to grand jury, yes, I'm going to testify, he would have received a life sentence, because, you know, they believe whatever the person that say they with him, because they want to give me immunity for it. But I was like, I'm not about to let a innocent man go to prison for a murder that he didn't do. You know, so I didn't want to participate in that. And, you know, but we still beefing about that to this day.
Okay, so, you know, your role in that whole thing is still a problem after you got out.
Right.
Okay, is this one of the issues that Birdman had?
Right.
Okay, well, last year, 2021, your sentence got reduced to 27 and a half years. Was there a reason for that?
Yes. Okay, when Trump signed December of 2018, he signed for the First Step Act. And in the First Step Act, it was for guys with crack first, right? So I don't have a crack case. I have a heroin case. Okay, I filed for, they had passed in 2014, but I didn't know at the time it came into effect November the 1st, 2015, 2-level reduction for drugs. Okay, I have a drug case. So my co-defendant filed at first they had denied us because if you charged with homicide, your sentence is from the homicide, not from the drugs. Now, remember I told you I got resentenced in 2002. So the judge took the relevant conduct off me. So now I'm charged with the drugs, but he just enhanced me because of the murders, but he hit me for the drugs and saying, oh, because you violent, your charge is 20 to life, I'm gonna give you the max on the charge. So now when Trump signed for the First Step Act, I filed, it's a motion you can file, it's called extraordinary, compelling and extraordinary reasons. So now in this motion, I allege that, hey, I've been incarcerated. It's a guy named Eric Milan from New York. He filed the same motion. It's plenty guy, I got the paperwork. Whereas usually they say, hey, since I've been incarcerated, laws are changing. I have this certificate, I have this, and this. I'm asking the court to reduce my sentence because of this. And when I filed my motion, I let them know, hey, since I've been incarcerated all these 27 years for only 6 ounces of heroin, the 2-level reduction come out. I haven't had no write-ups in it was like 10, 15 years I hadn't received a write-up. I had my own class, it was called I Can in prison. I had took college courses and I just put it into court with a judge, but I told my attorney because I knew that they were gonna bring up the murders and the prosecutor was gonna do their part to try to shut me down. So I asked my attorney, I said, listen, before this get out to the media and they're gonna talk about these homicides and go to saying they about to release a murderer, a killer, I said, let's get this stuff signed, let's get this stuff sealed. And my lawyer filed to the court saying that due to cash money and due to him celebrity status, it's gonna be murders involved and talk about homicides involved in the motions, I was able to get it sealed. So that's why it was sealed. But I have all the paperwork, what I filed with the prosecutor. The prosecutor responded back saying, oh, Your Honor, we comfortable with him having 40 years. That's why I had the sentencing hearing. Now the judge did do this, and I got the paperwork for that. He resentenced me on October 26th, but he put it on hold for 30 days. Because what he did was he gave the prosecutor a chance to contact the victim's family on the murders I was enhanced with to ask them how they feel about me getting out of prison. The prosecutor told the judge, Your Honor, being as though that this is a closed hearing, the victim family really don't have no right or no voice in this hearing. However, since you allowing this, we're gonna reach out to the victim family. In other words, they were saying, Your Honor, even though we violating his rights, you allowing us to do this. And when I read that, I was like, wow. So I was asking my lawyer, man, are you gonna let this go? He's like, hey man, it's out of my hand, the judge already ordered it. Well, one of the victim families said, three sisters and a mother. Two of the sisters said, no, we happy with him dying in prison. We don't want y'all to let him out. One of the sisters and the mother said, I don't know how I would feel if you all let him out. It's not gonna bring my son back. So the judge, and then on one of the other homicides, the family just ain't say nothing. So the judge just went on with his original order and went on and granted me and released me from prison.
Okay. Well, in 2021, your sentence got reduced to 27 and a half years. And then in 2022, this year, January 3rd, you got released after doing 23 years and 10 months.
Correct.
So how did you get those 4 years or so, trimmed off?
Oh, see, now what happens is you do 85% of your time in the Fed. So, but what took, now, right after the judge, I could have been home for Christmas. But what happened was, once the judge redid everything, I waited till the holiday was over with because I knew that, people were on vacation, and I went to like literally 100 people in prison and was calculating their time because I was like, man, the judge gave me 27 and a half years. What's 85% of that? And I was doing the math. I was like, man, I'm supposed to be released. I'm 4 months over my sentence or whatever. So that I waited till after the holiday, after the first. On the third, I went to the mail room and I was like, hey, man, I said, I believe I should be home. The guy was like, no, I talked with the people at Grand Prairie and they say that you don't get out till August of this year. I said, no, man, something wrong. So I did the calculation. I went and put out my paper. He was like, he said, my calculation, your calculation is gonna be different. I said, man, math is the same all around the United States. So I said, well, can you please contact Grand Prairie and let them decide? He's like, yeah. So he went in there. Actually, I had my lawyer to mail me a copy of the judgment commitment. And when he mailed me a copy of that, I gave it to him because they would wait for the paperwork to come. And sometimes the courts take their time, be like a month or so before you get out. So my lawyer sent me mine, so I was ahead. So I gave it to him. I walked out. I was like, man, that man ain't gonna contact them people. I went to my cell, talked to my little partner for a while. I jumped in the shower. Man, 30 minutes. Terrance Williams. I said, yeah, what's up? Get your stuff. I said, man, whatever. Get your stuff, you're leaving. I said, man, I didn't bathe or nothing. I jumped out the shower, ran to my cell, got my stuff. And the people just released me, man, and sent me to a bus station. It freaked me out. You know, I see a girl standing up on the phone and she looking at somebody and somebody looking at her and they talking. You know, it bugged me out, man. I was like, wow. You know, it's just a culture shock out here, man. But
well, yeah. I mean, you went in at age 24?
23.
23. You get out at 47?
Yeah.
So literally half your life was spent behind bars. Just for that one stretch, not counting all the other times that you went in, but literally that last stretch was half of your natural life.
Correct.
When you went in, there was no iPhones, there was no social media. Michael Jackson was still alive.
Prince.
And Prince was still alive. And you come out and people are FaceTiming. You know, there's Facebook and Instagram and marijuana is legal in certain places.
Text messages, man. Yo, it took me 3 weeks to learn how to text when I first come out. I got so frustrated with the phones, man. I was ready to go back to beepers. There's just so much on the cell phones, man. And I should get frustrated. And I would ask people, call people, and man, everybody on cell phones, man. Everybody. Children, you go to, anywhere you go, head down texting. And people just, man, the cell phone is, because while I was in prison, because there are cell phones in prison, I never indulged in that because I didn't want to get a write-up, because in my mind, I always paid attention to the law. And I was like, man, they're going to pass some laws, something going to come out. And what they do is they get the discretion to the courts. And I was like, if I get a lot of write-ups in prison, the judge could say, yeah, you've been incarcerated a long time. However, you stabbed this guy. You got caught with this cell phone. You got this write-up. Denied. He could deny my motion. Just like with the First Step Act, it's a discretion to the court. You know, and the judge look and see if you've done so much stuff. And like I said, all my co-defendants was going home. It was just two of us left. And then he got released under the 2-level reduction. So I was the only one left on the case.
Okay. When you get out, do you meet with Birdman? Do you meet with Slim? Do you meet with Juvenile? BG is still in prison. Do you meet with Lil Wayne? Do you reunite with anyone from Cash Money?
No. Listen, when I got out, I called Birdman. Because when I first got out, they gave me release, so they shot me straight to New Orleans. While I'm home, he on the phone fussing. So his exact words were, it's a lot of stuff going on with your name. I don't condone it. I'm not with it. I don't respect it. He said, we sat at the round table. You helped make some of the rules. And apparently you broke some of them. He said, you know, you made your bed, you got to lay in it. He said, anything else? He said, do you have anything you want to say before I hang up? I said, yeah. He said, what's up? I said, you have a pillow? Because at that time, I'm like, I know now that me and him never going to be the same. And I respect it because, like he say, I helped make some of the rules. And one of the rules are you never sit down with law enforcement, no matter what it is. Even though, like I said, I never testified on a living person. Nobody's doing time behind me. But because I sat down and gave them bodies, murders with people that are already deceased, it's still a violation. And, you know, I respect that because in my mind, I'm older now anyway. I'm free. I get to eat what I want. I don't have to worry about stand-up count. I don't have to worry about somebody trying to shank me behind one of my homeboys. I don't have to worry about no race riots, no lockdown. I'm free, you know? But I would say this, my brother Slim stepped up because me and Birdman, we clashed again because I'm doing a documentary on my life story, and there's certain things he don't want in it. And Slim the middleman with it, you know? And I was like, well, you know, he tripping, tell him, you know, where my money at for the hot boys, where my money at for the cash money, you know, my money. And his exact words were, see me in court, nephew. And I was like, oh yeah. But I'm not going that route because, like I say, Slim take care of me. Slim send me money. He helped me out. And I'm in a good space right now, you know. I mean, I would love to be, you know, with the family. You know, I thought I was going to be riding in the Maybachs, the Phantoms. You know, I had to ride the Uber and a Lyft, you know. Matter of fact, I need to start a GoFundMe page. Hey, can somebody help me get a Bentley or something? But nah, but at the end of the day, man, honestly though, Vlad, Slim has really been there for me. Slim take care of me. I don't want for nothing. You know, I work, you know, so I'm a citizen now. I pay taxes. So all you gangsters, leave me alone. I'm paying my taxes. I have a 9 to 5. Actually, I have 2 jobs. So I work, you know, and like I say, me and Birdman, we don't have no relationship right now. I talk with Slim, you know, and I respect, you know, that's where he at with it, you know. He a gangster, you know, and they living that life. I don't live that life no more.
Well, here you are in your mid-40s. When you look back on the life that you lived, when you think about the drugs that you were pushing in your own community to people you knew, families you knew, you now know the destruction that crack caused in the community. Heroin is another one of these really horrible drugs. The violence, the people who got shot and killed, and the mothers going to the funerals, and people losing their fathers and mothers and so forth. Do you have a lot of regret over what you did before, or do you feel like, well, you know, if I didn't do it, someone else would have done it?
Honestly, I don't regret nothing I've done in life because everything I've done in life has helped me become the man I am today. I do look back and like I have a nonprofit called Hug the Block that I'm reaching out to the at-risk youth, helping the people out. And I do ponder and think back on a lot of the stuff I did, you know, like you say, selling drugs, you know, poisoning the community, hurting the people. I don't look at it like if I wouldn't have did it, somebody else would have did it. I just look at it, I was young, wild, and I enjoyed it. I didn't, you know, I had foreign cars, materialistic stuff. As a teenager, I'm driving Mercedes-Benz, you know. So to answer your question, I don't regret nothing I've done in life. But like I say, it's my job now to reach out to the at-risk youth and let them know, hey, you want to sell these drugs, you want to shoot people and wild out, when you go to prison, because I've seen a lot of youngsters, Vlad, in their 20s, man, their mother's not there for them. And I be like, what's going on? What did you do? Because my mother's still there for me to this day, you know? And I'm like, you know, what's going on out there? So a lot of these young guys getting locked up and then they don't have no outside support. So that's why a lot of the homosexual activities come in, a lot of the suicide missions, like these youngsters don't have nothing, so guys might give them a little money, give them some drugs. Here, go stab him. Hold these now, we call them hosters, human hosters. Like they might can't think and be like, here go 10 shanks. You hold these, put these in your cell, you know? So it's just my job to help them and let them know this is what's going on in the prison system. If you feel like you want to keep living this life, you want to do this, then this is what you're going to be up against, you know? It can get real violent in the prison systems, man. I've seen guys lose their life.
Well, you said just because we were getting money, women were crazy about us. We were riding nice cars, wearing expensive jewelry, stacking money, busting our guns, or paying someone to do it for us. The drug life is the life we all love until the feds catch us.
True. That's a true statement, man. You know, it's like I say, you know, it's like when you're in your hood, you feel you're untouchable. You know, you're a killer, you got killers around you. You know, like I said, I always had foreign. My first car was an Infiniti Q45. Then I got a Mercedes-Benz. I got the QX4 off the showroom floor. I was the second person to buy the Infinity truck when it first came out. I was the first one in my city with it. So, you know, you can imagine a youngster with, you know, expensive rides, jewelry, you know, different women, you know, at a young age, plenty of money. So it's like I could do what I want. Then you got the police officers, a lot of them crooked in New Orleans. So I'm like, okay, listen, man, here go a few dollars. Look, go do this, go do that. So I had a very interesting life, you know, and like I say, I would love to, you know, ride on with the G4, G5, whatever little jets baby them have, but I can't, you know, so I gotta settle for, you know, staying on the ground, driving in the car. But I always go back to this. When I think about Cash Money, my family, I go back to you free, you know? So, and to ask you a question about Juvie, Wayne, all them, when I first came home, Baby had said, Birdman had sent word, was like, you know, Wayne and McMahon had wanted to talk and meet me and kick it with me. But I didn't want to talk with nobody because I was like, I have a clothing line, I have an app that I'm putting together. And one thing I learned about, you know, Wayne's a mega superstar. So one thing I learned from being on the outside looking in, you only get one phone call. You only get one what's up, and then after that, they're going to get lost. So I was like, I wanted to save it. And then when I do finally talk to them, like, hey, can you put this on your Instagram? Can you shout this out for me? And I want to bring something to the table. Like, look, this is what I got going on. This is what I'm doing since I've been home. You know, I didn't want to waste my phone call on man, remember we were young, remember around? No, I didn't want to do that. I need to make it count when I talk to these people because they got a lot of followers. The social media is the way of the world right now. So I haven't talked and met with nobody.
Well, I mean, over the years, I've interviewed some of the biggest drug dealers in America, you know, from the Freeway Ricky Rosses to the, you know, to the KPs out of Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing that's always consistent is, you know, the numbers differ a little bit, but roughly what I hear every time is for every year that you ball out on the street and you're riding in the foreign cars and you got all the women and the jewelry and the houses, you spend about 5 years in prison for every year that you spend out balling. And when I look at your story, it's roughly that amount.
Yeah, man. You know what? And that's crazy because I had wrote an article called "You Don't Want to Play This Game" when I was in prison. It had got published in some newspaper, but you're right, man, because with that little short time, when we, you know what's crazy, man? When we say some crazy, goofy stuff, this is my block. I own this block. Or like they got this thing going on now in certain cities, you got to check in with certain people when you put up in their city. How am I gonna check in with you in your city when if the police pull up, you gonna run too? If I go to jail, you can't get me out of jail. Well, I'm gonna check in with you. You don't own that. Man, we got some crazy stuff going on as people, man, but you know, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed selling the drugs. I enjoyed, you know, being behind the gun, driving in foreign whips. I enjoyed all that. But I paid for it. I did my time. I paid for it. I'm home now. And I'm happy. I'm happy right now, me. You know, I still get to talk to Slim. Me and Slim talk on the regular, text. I know how to do that, you know. So at the end of the day, man, this what God had planned for me. And for the ones who mad with me, you need to be mad with God. It was God plan. If you're a religious person, you know, I'm free, baby.
Well, if you look at what's happening right now, the biggest thing that's happening in the hip-hop world is the YSL RICO case, where Young Thug and Gunna are both arrested. They're held without bond. And when you start looking through the case, it's a lot of similar stuff as to what's happened to you. Wiretaps. You know, in this case, it's text messages, you know, combined with lyrics and social media posts and everything else like that. You know, when you look at these types of cases and how they played out, have you been following the YSL RICO case at all?
Yeah, I pay attention to it because I like law. And
Right.
what I don't want what happened to me, how I got railroaded, to happen to the next youngster. But I would say this. When you got a lot of people on your case, you know what's crazy, man, Vlad? I had 8 co-defendants and nobody snitched on my case. Nobody in my case snitched. Everybody in my case played out, took their charge, took their rap. now when I see a lot of these RICOs, a lot of these cases, I look at this. In their case, it's a lot of celebrities, it's a lot of partying, foreign cars, enjoying. When them people come with them football numbers, I'm just gonna sit back and see how they're gonna play this, man, because this is about to get real interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, just today, the news broke that, yesterday Young Thug had his bond revoked. Well, not revoked, but, he wasn't granted bond once again. His lawyer keeps trying to fight for bond, and the judge keeps striking it down. And what the judge said specifically was that other YSL members in this case have given proffer agreements that basically have said that Young Thug is violent and he might kill them or their family and so forth. They have text messages, a group chat of him saying, if anyone gets in court and tells the truth, they're going to get killed. But the proffer agreements is really what stood out, because to me, it's such a dirty trick by law enforcement, where you could come in, say about all the crimes that you did, implicate whoever you want, and everything you say can't be used against you in your own court case. And very often, by giving the proffer, you get your sentence reduced or even thrown out. And that's what's happening right now in the YSL case. Was there proffer agreements when you were going through your cases?
Yeah, well, not, like I said, not my co-defendants, but when I tried to be slick and I went to the state and I gave them homicides on some guys that already was deceased. Some of the murders that I had to implicate myself there, and but they gave me immunity for it. But in the Fed, how the Fed was, well, okay, yeah, you told on one time a prosecutor was like, I don't want to give him no credit, but he telling on people that's dead. We want to know what's up with these people that's alive, So in the Feds, man, they'll give you enough rope to hang yourself now. And like a lot of guys that do this, they'll proffer, and then they'll try to come back and recant their statement. And what happens is those proffers that you gave, they can use that against you. I seen that happen to a guy. He told, then he want to take a statement back. Okay, I'm gonna go to trial with my co-defendant, but now they got this. And now it's out to your co-defendants. So, man, I don't know how to put this, but when the Fed get you, man, 99% of the time, you gonna do time.
Well, the YSL case is a state case. It's still a RICO case.
Oh, okay.
It's a state.
See, I don't know how that
case.
Okay, so it in the state. So, I don't know. So, I mean, you can buy your way in the state. Some of the state prosecutors, they some crooked stuff going on in that state now. So, he might be shake. He might be shake.
It's a crazy situation right now.
Yeah, he might get shake out, because I don't know why I kept thinking it was in the Fed, because I was looking at it, and then some try to get on that social media, but the stuff be moving too fast for me. It's so much stuff on that social media, man. I get distracted. It's a lot going on that social media, man. But I seen it, and I was looking on the YouTube when he was in court trying to get a bond. And I would say this: usually when you got a big RICO case, they don't give you a bond because they say you're a flight risk, or like I say, you're dangerous. Usually if a person get a bond and they on a big RICO case, they snitching. They done gave statements. They already agreed to cooperate. So what happens is this too. Say we got a big conspiracy, a big RICO case. My co-defendant snitch. He give a proffer hearing, or we call it debriefing. He proffer. They let him out on bond. If all of us plead guilty, then sometimes we might not know that he was agreeing to testify against us, because they got a thing whereas when you get ready to go to trial, they won't give you the witness list till a day before you go to trial. So the co-defendant been and gave a statement, got his time cut off us, and we don't know. But usually when you got a big RICO case, if a person get a bond, he's snitching. He done told.
Yeah, man. Well, the moral of the story is don't do crime.
Yeah, I mean, because I wrestled with that. I was like, man, one day I was riding Vlad like a month ago, and it hit me, man. I was like, wow, I'm free. I remember I used to be on these buses shackled, and I used to always say to myself, man, when I'm gonna get a chance to be out in society with the normal people, or everybody ain't normal, but out in society. So I was riding, man, and I was like, wow, I'm free. I'm out here, man, and it's just man, I love to hang out in Walmart. It's just a wonderful feeling, man. Hey, man, listen. I don't never want to go back to prison. I know that. After getting a taste of this, what's going on out here, I done been in just about every fast food restaurant, still going to certain other restaurants. And if I can help I'm trying to talk to some of these youngsters at these little juvenile prisons. I'm waiting to get approval to go to the prisons. But man, from being in prison, witnessing all that drama, to being out here now, man, the beautiful women. Just be able to go and come as I want. And as crazy as it sounds, and as bad as I would love to be, with the family, I'm happy and content with what I got right now. Because if I'd have got in my early 30s, I think I might want to still, because that stunner couldn't, me and him to go at it before I got out, he couldn't mess with me back then. It was in 2010 till I finally told him, okay, man, you got that, man, you win. He said, I got that. I was like, he was all excited. I was like, yeah, you got that. He couldn't handle me back then, but, I still love him, because like I say, I don't want to put my burden on no one. I don't want no one to feel like they owe me. I did my time. Like I say, I was supposed to get, man, I got 2 PSI. I pled guilty to CC, I was supposed to get 20 years. When people came back 2-3 months later with a new PSI and put me on automatic life, mandatory life sentence, gave me life for something I was never charged, I was never indicted, and they gave me a life sentence. And I did 23 years and 10 months.
Well, Terrance Gangster Williams, you did your time.
Yeah.
You made a lot of mistakes early on in your life as a teenager, like a lot of us do. A lot of us, in our teens and early 20s do a lot of dumb shit, me included. There was stuff that I did that could have ended me 20 years in prison if I got caught for it. Luckily, I didn't. But you did your time and you came out and now you could hug your kids.
They grown
you
too.
Could go, yeah.
I got grandbaby. I'm a grandpa.
There you go. You can hug your grandkids, something you couldn't have done 2 years ago.
Man.
You could eat wherever you want. You can go to the bathroom whenever you want. You can take a shower whenever you want. In peace, without a bunch of men around.
No, I could get in the tub, man. We shower in the Fed. I get, oh man. You know what? They got Six Flags. They got, oh man, you know what? I was thinking the other day that it's a few good men that I left in prison, like Big Meech, that I would love to see back out on these streets, man, because it's a lot of good men I left in prison that deserve another chance. I always say this, and I could be wrong, but I always say prison is for homeless people. And the reason why I say that, because you get 3 meals a day, free water, free light, got a cell, you don't pay no rent, they sleeping on the street. But then when I drive by, I be like, man, even if I was a bum, oh, what's crazy, man? I just did a video this morning of Vlad acting like a bum, reaching out to Birdman. I put it on my Instagram. I just did it today. So, cause I be thinking like, I would rather be a bum on the street than be in prison.
Yeah.
Man, bro, you got officers like in their early 20s telling you, shut up, I'm giving you a direct order. You got some women that's tore up bad body, walking around with their head held high, like they're Miss America, and you like, I know on the street, we must look your way. And they just got their nose frowned up, and man, sometimes that stuff just irritates you. So I'm happy where I'm at,
So you were locked up with Big Meech?
Yeah, we was on the same. You didn't see that article where they say Big Meech beat me up? This clown did a crop some picture with my face. Man, listen, like I said, I didn't know the effect of social media. It wasn't until I had got a text message from Slim asking me was I okay. And then my mother, and I was like, I called him, I said, what's up? He's like, man, they got a rumor that Big Meech beat you up and they had to send you to the outside hospital. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, this guy, he did a thing on YouTube and got your picture. I was like, and when it reached my mother and Slim, I knew that it was real big, But the guy lied. Me and Big Meech was on the compound together in Jessup, Georgia. He's a real cool guy, very respectful. But he got into a fight with some guy from DC. It wasn't him. It was he had when he got there. You know, of course, it's gonna be a bunch of groupies. So he had formed this BMF crew there. And the guys started getting BMF tattooed on the left side of their neck. And, you know, and he had let them know, listen, I'm not going to get nobody no connect when they get out of jail, none of that. If you want to hang out, you can hang out. So they go eat, they go work out for lunchtime. And that was it. And he was like, if you tell, hey, Meeks, let's take a picture. He'll do his little weights, push-ups. He get in the picture. He was a very cool guy. But one of his guys got into a fight. And by him being the face of the franchise, he had to go out there. And that's how the fight had popped off. And one of my Muslim brothers, they all went back to the unit and they went to go gear up. So the whole South came together for Big Meech. But I seen one of my Muslim brothers reaching in the mattress, putting out like a 10-inch shank. And I was like, what's up? He's like, man, nah, Dirt started this. So he got to stab the guy. So I was like, oh man, so I got 2 knives. On the move, I go meet Meech. I said, listen, man, it's not gonna be a gang fight when you go out there. It's about to be some knife slaying. These old heads slaying that knife. He was like, I know, man, but I gotta go out there. So as him and I walking up the walk, the lieutenant stopped both of us. He said, what's your name? I said, Williams, Terrance Williams. He said, step to the side. He said, what's your name? He said, Demetrius Flannery. And he pat Meech down. He told me to go back to the unit. I was happy because I had the weapons on me. Went back to my unit. They locked Big Meech up. And I didn't see Big Meech no more after that. We never had a fight. He never put his hands on me, none of that. We always, actually, he had wanted to meet me. He was like, man, my heart go out to you. I read your article in the Ozone magazine. I wanted to meet you. I'm like, oh yeah, because I had never heard of BMF. You know, I had been locked up for a long time. And I had heard guys talking about it. And when I finally got a chance to meet him, you know, he's a cool, respectful guy, you know. I was around Convertible Burt, another respectful, cool guy, you know. Me and Freeway Ricky, who you was speaking on, him and I had met through Wendy Day, and we used to email each other, and we cool to this day. I talk to him often, you know. Real good guy. So I've been blessed too. I've never been beat up in prison. I've never been jumped on in prison. I had to stab a guy once behind one of my brothers claiming a table. I got caught with a 10-inch shank in my cell. But other than that, you know, I've always been the one to keep the peace. You know, so, and I've never been jumped on or beat up or extorted, none of that in prison. I did pretty good. I survived.
There you have it.
Yeah, I've survived and made it out here. I just ain't. I don't have the wrist gang chain on. Can you get me a wrist gang chain?
I don't have one. Huh? I don't have one myself. Maybe okay. Rich homie Quan might have an extra one lying around that he's not using. I don't know. All
right, well, we got to reach out to him, man. I need to get me a chain, man, so I could, you know, I could get into certain restaurants or certain places off the wrist gang name. Right now, I can't do nothing, man. You know, but I'm free, baby. I am free, man.
You are. And I can guarantee you that Slim and Baby are going to watch this interview.
The world going to watch this.
I know. But Birdman is actually one of his guys. Had said that he had wanted to do an interview with me for a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if an interview happened after this.
Hey, you know what? Let me ask you this: you sure you're gonna be? Are you gonna air this? Because it's 2 guys that run with Rich Gang. They've been contacting certain media outlets that I do interviews and telling them you better not play it. So you sure you're gonna play this?
I'm 100% gonna play it. I'm not gonna edit it. But yeah, man, no one has ever told us that we can't put something out, or release something. We don't get intimidated. We don't get extorted. At the end of the day, we're an independent entity. I own the company 100%. So no one could basically pull rank and tell us what to do. At the end of the day, we've done lots of interviews and certain people get upset about it and certain people don't, but we continue to keep moving. We've been around for 15 years, and I think our track record speaks for itself. So this interview will come out unedited. It'll come out exactly, in its entirety, the way that we talked about. Nothing's going to get cut out. Nothing's going to get scrapped or anything else like that.
Yeah, good. Play everything. Don't cut nothing out I said. But only reason why I don't say their name because see on my Instagram and on my Facebook, I just started, so I don't have a lot of followers. So they got more followers than me, so I say their name on there so I get their follow. But this is a big stage, so I can't give them no airplay. I can't say their name on it. I wouldn't dare help them out. But they show, I'm up now. They ain't gonna like this here, Vlad. This a big stage here.
Yeah.
Yo, they not
and
gonna
ultimately,
like
man, I think you've spoken very respectfully about Slim and Birdman.
I love them, man. They have taken care of me my whole life, man. in prison, I never wanted for anything. Now, I was shocked how Birdman came at me when I come home. I respect it. Like I say, Slim still there for me. I could call Slim right now while we talking. He take care of me. Like I said, I don't want for nothing. I'm happy. I would love to be with the family, but it's not gonna happen. And at the end of the day, man, I still get to get up. I don't have to worry about lockdown. Stand up count. Ciao. Matter of fact, I don't know what I'm going to eat. You know what? I thought you supposed to have Popeye chicken or something waiting on me. I don't supposed to have some kind of care package when I do interviews. I supposed to have some chicken leg or some drink or what have you. Vlad, what's up, man?
Next time I have a little spread out for you,
it's going to be next time because I'm about to shoot my documentary in Atlanta next month, and I got to come back on here to talk about my documentary and let you know how mad Birdman going to be because I'm about to air a lot of stuff in that documentary.
Well, at the end of the day, man, you guys are still family. That is still, that's still your half brother. You guys came up together. You guys did a lot for each other. And I think the most important part for him, I think, in what we talked about, is that you had a chance to walk away with a slap on the wrist by just saying, my millionaire brother did X, Y, and Z.
I could have been rubbing hands. I could have been doing this.
And you could have did the Birdman hand rub, right? Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. While he sits in prison over a bunch of trumped up charges, and there never would be a Cash Money. Lil Wayne might have never been a household name. Drake and Nicki Minaj and everyone else who came later and so forth. I mean, even Young Thug came through Birdman at one point.
Hey, Vlad,
you see what I'm saying?
Let me tell you something a lot of people don't know. When I was in prison, I had started a record label called Shot Caller Records. And Birdman and I had a conversation, and we was discussing me getting paid for my Cash Money rights and the Hot Boy rights. So, quite naturally, he didn't want to let no money go. And I had asked him, I said, well, give me Lil Wayne. And I was trying to get Wayne signed to my record label, man. This before he had really blew up. This was like in 99. And man, just imagine, oh man, what I would have came home to, a Gangsta Island. I would have had my own island, man. Cause that man is so billion records, man.
Yeah.
Man, Weezy, man, yo. I remember little Tunchi, man, with the little afro. Now you got these blind dreads, and man, love you, Tunchi. He got me through. I had to listen to the funeral, but free BG too, and Big Beach.
Yeah.
But yeah,
free
man.
BG.
You know what,
Free BG.
Vlad? One person that has really helped me out since I've been home, or besides my mother, is Queen France. She really showed me about the social media. She helped me out because there's a lot of stuff I still don't know how the phone go, and they be talking about this about to go viral. Queen France has really, really helped me out, man, and I really appreciate that.
That's what it is. Terrance Gangsta Williams, man. Congratulations on making it through your time. Congratulations on being out. And, you seem ultimately very happy and not bitter at all based on what you went through. And a lot of people in your situation would be bitter and mad and felt like people owed you something and so forth, or felt like you got dealt a bad hand and so forth. But you've really taken accountability for everything along the way. And you still have a lot of years left, man. You can still live a long and fruitful life, man.
Yeah, I work out at Planet Fitness now. I got to get right, man. I got to get myself ready for the summer for the girls.
There you go.
Yeah, for the beach.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming through. Until next time.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.